Well, hello again. I wanted to say a few things to you before you actually did your final speech. There's some things you need to know. This is a big speech. It's worth 300 points. And the biggest problem that a fair number of you have had in this class so far this semester is you've left points on the table because you haven't read, or if you did read, you didn't follow all of the instructions. We see points lost on the discussion boards because you only do one of the two that are due each week. Or you do the discussion board, but you don't respond to someone else's posting. Those are all clearly there. So let's go over what this is about. Now, the persuasive speech, and I can pretty well guarantee somebody's going to talk about abortion, somebody else is going to talk about the death penalty, and that's fine. But the real issue is, what are you going to say that hasn't already been said? If that's all you're going to do is give me a rehash of all of what famous people have already said, then that's not going to do very well for you. So what you may want to do is pick a topic that isn't a huge national topic, one that has some maybe local concern of some kind, and go from there. There could be something on the schools. There could be something about separation of church and state. There could be something about what's going on in Washington, and maybe some of you would want to develop something on the basis of does it make any difference who we elect if once they get there they pay no attention to the people that voted for them in the first place? These are things that kind of stir people's passions. I will say one other thing, though. I shouldn't say this because if somebody does the death penalty, I hope you're aware of everything that's going on, and I won't say too much, but there's a major problem with the states that have a death penalty on their books. And it's a major problem that if you're doing the speech, you need to be really on top of and really aware. And I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll see if anyone does that. But let's talk about the persuasive speech. It says that it's a specific purpose speech. You're going to persuade people that a specific course of action should or should not be taken. And it talks about the audience will agree that same-sex marriages should not be legalized. The audience will agree that a security fence should be constructed along the U.S.-Mexican border. The audience should create a living will to provide for their family. The audience should vote for a total ban on human cloning. The audience will agree that school districts should not allow soft drink companies to stock their products in school vending machines. Those are all kind of nice topics because they're not the ones we've been talking about here. The goal of this speech is to persuade your audience for or against a question of policy. Now, see Chapter 15. It says that. Questions of policy inevitably involve question of fact and questions of value, but questions of policy always go beyond both to decide whether something should or should not be done. In other words, questions of policy attempt to persuade an audience that a specific course of action should or should not be taken. Questions of policy deal with specific courses of action. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. You need to make your message clear. Don't use jargon. You need to be accurate in your research. I'm going to interrupt here because when you quote something, when you give a statistic, you must give the source of that statistic at that point in your speech. Give me a bibliography and telling me this is where you got your information from is not going to make it. Your audience does not see your bibliography. They only hear what you say. You must cite your sources in the speech. Now, let's talk about what we have to do there. It's a 300-point speech. That's the most points you could get this semester in one speech. It's 7 to 10 minutes. That means you must go at least 6 minutes and 45 seconds and not more than 10 minutes and 15 seconds. All right? You need a speaking outline. You need a preparation outline. You need one visual aid for this speech. And whatever visual aid you use, send me a copy of it because for the most part I can't see what you're doing in your speech, but when you send me a copy I can reference it. You need 4, count them, 4 sources for this speech. And consider the legitimacy the recency, the credibility, the balance, and accuracy of your sources. You need to list the sources using either the MLA or APA format in their verbal communication. You have to pay attention to that. Watch all of the things we've talked about in the critiques. Watch the vocalized pauses. Watch the tisks so that when you're talking, we don't hear things. Control the atmosphere of nonverbal communication. How do you look? How many of you have dressed up for these speeches? This is an occasion. You come in wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something like that, you're not taking this seriously. You need to dress up for it. Your speech must be submitted by the due date. You must have an audience of 4 people. You must meet the requirements I've outlined ad nauseum about how to introduce that audience. I must be able to see their faces. I must be able to see you. There must be light on your face. There must be this shot you're seeing right now so that I can see you for eye contact. You have to maybe think in terms of not, doing all of this. Just pay attention to the things we've said in the critiques that we've posted. This is your time to shine. This is your time to really come through and do really, really well. Now let's talk for a second about where we are on a lot of this. As I look around in the scores of the people, we've got 1 or 2 that haven't really done anything all semester, so we'll ignore that. But we pretty much range from about 272 to a high of 521 points so far. So let's talk about what's left. There are 40 points left on the discussion board. We have 2 of those each week. So we have a week 7A and a week 8A and 8B, a week 7A and 7B. So at 10 points each, there's 4 of those. That's 40 points. We also have the persuasion speech, and that is worth exactly 300 points. We have a special occasion speech that you've yet to give, and that's worth the total of 50 points. And we have 1 exam left, and that's worth a total of 20 points. So, total left in this class, 410 points left that you can get. That is, if you get all of the points that are available. So here's where you really need to shine. Now let me say something. So let me just go and talk about what we say. We had somebody here in the class that had a score of 521. So if I go to my handy dandy calculator and I do 521 plus 410, that equals 931, and 931 is clearly an A. So let's take somebody else. Let me see what else we have here. We got a 477. So let's go 477 plus 410, and that's 887, and that's a clear B. But I told you that if you're kind of improving, if your grades are kind of going up, I'll do it this way, if they're kind of going up, then I'm inclined to take you to a higher level. So it's pretty much up to you. It's pretty much up to, have you shown me that the things I've said you've incorporated into your speech? Have you shown me that you're paying attention? Do you pay attention to the critiques that I've given and incorporate that so that you don't make mistakes that have been constantly made all semester by other people in the class? I would also point out that Apollo has yet to send me a photo ID, and as a result, for all practical purposes, Apollo cannot pass this course without me having a photo ID, and it's unfortunate because Apollo is sitting on 457 points, and if they got all of the remaining points, they'd have 867. That's a pretty clear B, but instead, Apollo, it could be an F because you have not submitted a photo ID, which was required the first week. So, if you have any questions, give me a call in the office. I'll be around a little bit. You also have my cell phone number in case I'm away from the office. You can call me on the cell phone. Let's not get involved in long discussions, because on the cell phone, all I can pretty much do is answer a question without having any of the resources at hand. So let's do it that way. If you have any questions, we'll go from there. I look forward to hearing your persuasion speeches. Fix that edge. Get that edge going for you. You know, there's an old motivational thing where they talk about, if I were to say to you, does the number 212 mean anything? And most people aren't with me yet, so I say, well, what if I said 212 degrees? Some people from their science classes remember 212 degrees is the point at which water boils. And then when I say, well, what do you have at 211 degrees? Well, at 211 degrees you have really hot water. But at 212 degrees you have boiling hot water. And boiling hot water produces steam. And steam will drive an engine. And engines will move things. What's the difference between 212 and 211? 1 degree of difference. And that's what I'm asking you on this final speech, is bring it up. Give me that 1 degree of difference. And that 1 degree is going to be magnified, because if you go 1 degree, it's going to be massively apparent. Look at all of the comments that I've made. It's all on tape. They're still posted on YouTube. You can go in there and you can see the kinds of things I've said. You could pay attention to whether or not I have consistently said some of the same things to you in your speeches, and avoid that. I have a memory bank too, so I'll remember that. And then do that 1 degree of difference. Okay? You have a good one. It's an important speech, but I can tell you my persuasive speech when I was in college, I to this day still remember the speech. I still remember the topic. I still remember how important it was then, and I am still governed by what I spoke about then. And I'll just tell you the topic was deceptive packaging and labeling. And sometime we'll talk about that if you're interested, but I don't want to give anyone any ideas. So you have a good one. Look forward to your next speech, and we'll talk to you after that.